the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 7th day of August. Got a great show with you for tonight. Going to talk about Hard Knocks. It was a good one. Good opening episode of the Chicago Bears. Got some good sound bites. Nick Saban was there. Kind of giving a few pointers there to head coach Matt Eberflus. I think he coached Eberflus at some point. Going to talk about that here in a little bit. Plus Jim Harbaugh. Man, NCAA, it sounds pretty personal coming at him that hard. Although, you know, he's not going to be in the college game. I'll still talk a little bit about that. Plus Kevin Carroll, Coach Carroll. Oops, looks like I am. Notice something here. See what happened there. Hopefully that came out right. Coach Kevin Carroll will be on here. Talking about the University of Tennessee, talk a little bit of the college playoff in the SEC with him as well. He'll be here 30 minutes past the hour. Let's take our first and only break here, and I'll be back here after a few short announcements here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thank you. To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right, NESSP. Tap on the logo, and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports, click on our NESSP logo, and add the channel.
All righty then. I'm having a little problem on the Roku today. I don't know. There's some kind of issue. Either way, the show's got to go on right now. Welcome to Sports Scope. So I'll tell you what. This Hard Knocks for the Bears, it's just not a good idea if you're trying to break in a new quarterback. You've got a head coach there on a hot seat in Matt Eberflus here. You are going from an organization that has traditionally been about guys like linebackers, Dick Butkus, edge rushers like Richard Dent, Mike Singletary, physical linebacker, very Chicago. It even opens up with Call the Katie by John Belushi and the Blues Brothers at the very beginning, very hip, and they're transitioning to a team about DJ Moore, wide receiver, who just got an extension just last week there for the Chicago Bears. Rome Odunze, the number 9 overall pick. Flashy, very promising wide receiver out of the University of Washington. And Keenan Allen, one of the better route running receivers that the team, 4 or 5 Pro Bowler there in Keenan Allen, the team traded for in the offseason. A very offensively dominated, trying to put their star power, money, and equity into high draft picks, extending on offensive players rather than defensive players like they have been in the past. And again, you're trying to break in a quarterback here. Caleb is the first 4,000-yard passer Caleb Williams out of USC quarterback that they've drafted. So you could see that, the pressure is really, really high on him. And I tell you what, they probably should have went on and moved on from Eberflus if it was up to me, and made the full investment into the offensive side of the ball. He's a defensive-minded head coach. The last 5 Super Bowl, last 5 years in the Super Bowl, both teams have been led by coaches with offensive backgrounds. Eberflus was not let go because the defense, they did have the number 1 run defense in the NFL last year. That's what the team's looking at. But truth of the matter is, it's all about the quarterback play and scoring points nowadays. If you're going to go in, you might as well go all in. They could have went after Jim Harbaugh. They could have went after Brian Callahan, which the Tennessee Titans ultimately went on and signed here. They could have went that route. They could have went with Arthur Smith, who never really got a shot in Atlanta because of his the awful quarterback play or the bad salary cap that he was dealt with. So anyways, Nick Saban made a good point to Eberflus about expectations and what I just saw. He was there giving out advice since he's retired. I think Eberflus played for him at some point in his playing career. Listen up, Nick Saban making some good points as usual here on last night's Chicago Bears Hard Knocks.
Why NFL quarterbacks fail at such a dramatic rate. To me, expectations are a killer. This kid's got so much media, so much hype, so much expectation on doing well. And he has to develop so quickly to meet the expectations that everybody has for him. It's almost impossible. Because there is a development phase to this. The first year is rookie, second year, and it's the third year they got it.
And that's Eberflus saying, hey, there's the developmental phase to this. And the way I would look at something like this, I would tamper back these expectations. They went out and got DeAndre Swift there out of Philadelphia. Okay. They got Cole Kmet there, just signed a new contract as the tight end. We know, I just mentioned, a lot of money and resources spent on these 3 wide receivers that they've got. But to start this season out, I'm working on right now in training camp, Chicago Bear fans, I'm working on running the ball and doing short passes, running the ball from different angles, running the ball up the middle, running the ball, delayed handoffs, screen passes. Then you want to move to the next page in the playbook as far as slowly but surely opening up this offense. So the weight of the world is not on this young quarterback. And just like Eberflus is saying, really, you would like for him to implement this each year to year, but now we're talking game by game. Listen up, more from
our system. And I think that's the biggest thing you got to worry about with your quarterback. Because the expectations are a killer. But yet, to use your word, development is the key for him. Like Peyton Manning took 28 interceptions when he was a rookie. That was the most in the history of all. The nail on it. But it didn't affect them. It's like the scoreboard. Scoreboard don't leave anything.
Peyton Manning, 28 interceptions his rookie year. I mean, there was only 16 games played back in 98, folks. I mean, that is practically 2 a game. That's 2 interceptions a game. But they let him go out and learn. You know, not everybody. Ideally, you would like to let these quarterbacks, as highly sought after as he is, you'd kind of like to let him at least sit for a year. But that's just not how it's going to be. Eberflus, you can already tell. I'm watching this early on, and he's working. Usually you don't see, if it's a defensive background head coach, you don't see the head coach talking and engaging this much with the quarterback if he's not that much more paranoid about his job status right now. You know, it just feels unhealthy. It's usually the quarterback coach and or the offensive coordinator. Now, if it's a Andy Reid type of head coach, if it's a coach from an offensive background, yeah, that's a little different. Brian Callahan, you're going to see him with the Will Levis. But with Eberflus coming from a defensive background, it feels really, really awkward if you ask me. But here's more. Nick Saban talking about how to deal with the quarterback with Eberflus, Pickles. Here's Nick Saban, more on this particular episode. Listen up. Oh, man.
Human nature is to be average. It's to survive. It's not to win a championship. It's not to be the best you could be. It's none of those things. And we think as coaches that just because the guy's a good athlete, he wants all that. Now, every now and then you get a guy who's got all the right stuff, who's a great leader, who does everything right. I mean, you were that way as a player. But there's not very many guys like that. You got to make them that way. Do you do anything special with the quarterback? I always stood behind the quarterback. I always wanted to hear their version of what was happening. Back to what you see. Wrong converting 3.5 ratio, right? Yeah, you got it. I was never negative with them from the rest of the team.
Never negative with the quarterback. He said he wanted to stand behind the quarterback. And I've seen Nick Saban do this in practice. Even when he was at Miami Dolphins, he would just look behind him. He would not try to get where he is throwing the quarterback off by no means. It'd make me uncomfortable if he's standing right behind me. But he would stand at an angle, and you watch him, and, you know, if you guys watch the Alabama practices, he'd have that big giant straw hat on, and he wants to see what the quarterback sees. He also says he doesn't want to be negative to him in public. Now, this sounds like, man, you're really babying the quarterbacks. You know, they just don't get treated the same. No, they don't, okay? The quarterbacks, and I've heard Joe Gibbs, who won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, say the same thing. He said you got to reassure the quarterbacks when they're doing something good and ease in and tell them when they're doing something bad or something they need to correct. You don't want to drill sergeant the quarterbacks, okay? Paraphrasing, but basically that's what he said. They're more like pilots, per se. Quarterbacks are more like pilots. You know, drill sergeant, you want to use that on like the old Bears, Devin Singletary, or Mike Singletary type of player, Mike Ditka, the big, rough, tumble guy. Quarterbacks, you got to be feather the eagle. That's about how Joe Gibbs said it. You know, you do not want them to lose their confidence. You don't want them to be nervous in the pocket and overthinking, just like you don't want a pilot overthinking and panicking in there. Now, of course, it's a lot easier now with flying these airplanes. I've seen the videos now. It looks very easy. Everything's right there on camera. It's very easy. But you don't want them too petrified back there to make a mistake here. You know, you want to ease them in there. You don't want to kill their confidence here, okay? You got to correct them. You got to correct them, don't get me wrong. They'll make the same mistake over and over again, but it's how you go about doing that. And Saban being a guy from a defensive background, maybe that's why he's won 7 national championships. He doesn't freak out when the quarterback makes a big mistake. More Saban talking to Matt Eberflus about this situation.
Windows are they close too fast and fill it that way. Yeah.
I mean,
Tell me what you see. Well, guys like that. You got to make them that way.
okay, replaying a little bit of it.
Do you do anything special with the quarterback? I always stood behind the quarterback. I always wanted to hear their version of what was happening. Tell me what you see. Well, converted, pretty good operation there, right? Yeah, you got it. I was never negative with them throughout the rest of the team. Windows are they close too fast and fill it that way. Yeah. It was always more effective to me to show than it was to tell.
Like when you reset right here, Caleb.
To show them rather than tell them. You know, and I've seen him do that with offensive linemen. He would get down and demonstrate the stance, how he wanted Saban. And this was with the Dolphins. This was not with college. How, you know, he wanted the players to use their leverage, and he was showing them. He's very much a teacher, you know, and it's a pretty interesting way of looking at it. Not the not the hard knocks that I thought that I was going to expect an Eberflus to deal with Caleb Williams. This may work out for Eberflus, you know. But then, you know, like I said at the very beginning, my approach to dealing with a guy like this and all these expectations early on, it would be on running out of different formations, getting the running game down. We want to be early in the season to keep the pressure off this particular young quarterback. You want to run the ball as much as possible, okay? You want to run the ball, short pass, slowly build the offense up, get that ball to Cole Kmet. The tight end is a young quarterback's best friend. Even though we know that the firepower is overwhelming. We know there's high draft picks coming in. But, you know, even when you get guys like Joe Flacco, his rookie year, which he played really well, they won a playoff game. You would think that he threw the ball a bunch. They ran about 85 to 90% of the time. But when they did, John Harbaugh and that group did call a pass and play, he would hit the open man later on, late in the season, getting into the playoffs that year. And they ended up making it to like the AFC Championship game or something like that in the playoffs that year. I think the Steelers or somebody ended up putting them out there. But there's a lot more running involved with the young quarterback than one would think. As far if you want to do this right, you don't want to have the guy sitting back there throwing the ball 1,000 times. And you know, I could see the fans expecting that out of Caleb Williams. He did not look good, in my opinion, early on. He's very small. He's slight. This kind of a slight kind of guy here. He's a little timid back there. Now, of course, this is the first week of training camp. Herbert was terrible the first week of training camp, and he picked it up week. He got thrown in there like week 2, week 3, and played really well. You know, so that doesn't mean nothing. But it would be a lot of running, a lot of swift. A lot of receiver screens at the line of scrimmage. You've got a guy like DJ Moore that can do that all day long and twice on Sunday. You want to ease a guy, and you don't want to have him doing 4-step drops and slinging it downfield, 30-yard ropes and stuff like that. It's just too hard to get that off the ground, even with all this talent that they have early on. That's why I do think at a team like a Tennessee, when they play to open up against Tennessee in September, I do like Tennessee, and I like the aggressive defensive coordinator Tennessee has. They're going to give them a lot of different looks, and I do think they'll catch an L early. But you could see that's a well above average offensive line. They've got Komet. They've got, again, DJ Moore, Allen, who's Roma Dunze. They've got plenty, but as the season goes along, you don't want to have to use all those bullets in the chamber in the first couple of weeks here. It's just too overwhelming for the coaches here. Let's see, or for the players. What else did I make some notes of? Okay, I talked about Gibbs. They had Jonathan Owens. That's the husband of Simone Biles, the Olympic gold medal. I didn't like the fact, just me, training camp is very serious. You're installing new things. Everybody's got to be there. They were showing him getting taken to the airport to see Simone Biles in the Olympics. I didn't agree with that. They could, and towards the end, it showed them watching it on TV. But then you got to do that for everybody. I would not have. I know it's for public relation concern. Simone Biles is a big star. The Bears are trying to look good PR wise. That wouldn't happen. I'm sorry, man. We know it's your wife and everything, but hey, this training camp, this is what we're trying to keep this team together. We're trying to implement some chemistry here. I would have told them no. Theo Bennett, this rookie, he stole the show singing Proud to Be an American. This guy from British Columbia, he's I think it was an undrafted free agent offensive lineman, singing Glenn Greenwald's Proud to Be an American. Because they have all the rookies up there, by the way, and so did Caleb. Caleb Williams went up there and sung in front of the like all the rookies do in front of the team, and they booed him off the stage. He was terrible. This young guy, Theo Bennett, was pretty good, but the guy ends up getting hurt he gets hurt in the Hall of Fame game. But I've heard that the surface up there in Canton's terrible. That's why they didn't play Caleb Williams. I wouldn't play him either. I also mentioned DJ Moore, major extension till 2029. The Bears are going in a new direction, and you see people online saying they're getting in the 21st century. They've already extended him. So either way, it was a really good episode. Can't wait. I hope Carlos has seen it. Looks good. I like the music chosen for it, and it's really, really funny. I don't know why they just don't sing the right fight, but he was doing that. Glenn Greenwald and some love song that Caleb Williams did that I'd never heard of, but he was terrible, and they were all booing him and stuff. And only time they clapped when he mentioned his signing bonus was $25 million. And everybody's like, "Ooh, yeah, okay." Before Coach Carroll. Kevin Carroll, I went to college with for 20 years ago, also, like with Carlos. He's going to be on here in about a few minutes here. Jim Harbaugh, speaking of the Bears. So the NCAA threw the book at Jim Harbaugh just in case he comes back. It's a pretty hefty suspension. To me personally, I think it is excessive. Brent McMurphy, and of course this is all widely reported now, says former Michigan coach there, Jim Harbaugh, if he comes back, he would be suspended for one season. Now, he's already been suspended for 6 games or whatever. So they would suspend him for one season if he returns to college, and he would receive a 4-year show cause by the NCAA for COVID recruiting violations and sign still. And I mean, the recruiting violations and during the COVID thing was nonsense. I remember reading that thinking, what a bunch of something. Jim Harbaugh, he's defiant towards these academics. And, like I said, I graduated college. Went to school with my man's coming up here in a little bit, Kevin Carroll. Also went to school with the Mad New Yorker. These academics, they don't like it when you don't kiss their rear end, and if you don't call them doctor, which I think is nonsense, by the way. But they were real anal about that when I was at Austin Peay. If it's Dr. So-and-so, so they got their PhD. Hey, listen, man, if you ain't a medical doctor, you shouldn't be called doctor. But they made for bleeping sure we call these people doctor just for going to school and getting their like the rappers will say, their player hating degree. But he's defiant towards those stuffy academics, and they didn't like it. They didn't like it, He did his own thing. I don't know if he actually did the sign stealing and whatnot. From what I read, it seems like it was more Ohio State and Michigan State doing the complaints on the guy, if you ask me. But I've never liked academics, stuffy academic people, and they never really liked me. Most of my other Dr. Prather was the only one I liked. I've told you about other ones that I couldn't stand. I mean, there was one lawyer. He was a former lawyer, and he was our media law guy. And everybody knows exactly who I'm talking about. He was one smart mouth POS, and I could have got him in a lot of trouble. I really could have, but I'm not a vindictive person, because I used to be able to smell alcohol in this guy constantly, But he had a smart mouth on him. But, Harbaugh didn't like him. But I'll say this. So people ask me, say, 1 year suspension for what is a show? A show cause is like they're going to be closely monitoring everything you do there. They're going to have people looking there from the NCAA, closely monitoring every single thing that you do there. That's a show cause. Now, the suspension would just be a 1 year suspension. Do you think that a team, like, say, for instance, he has a fallout with the Spanos family, okay, which is the owners of the Chargers, which he could in 4 or 5 years. They go win a Super Bowl like he did with the 49ers. He wants more player control. He has a fallout with ownership. He walks away. Mutually agree to part way. That's very Jim Harbaugh. Very Jim Harbaugh. Would a team like a Ole Miss, who may have moved on from Lane Kiffin, because Lane Kiffin gets himself in trouble in 5 or 6 years from now, would a Ole Miss hire him? Would a Kentucky hire him? Would a Missouri hire a Jim Harbaugh and let him sit out a year and they just deal with the 4 year show calls? And the answer to that would be, yeah, I think it would. I think some of these teams would. I think they would take a chance. Would a TCU or a Texas, SMU, Southern Methodist University, Pickles, would they take a chance? Would they take a chance with a Jim Harbaugh? And the answer is probably yes. I think that there's some teams out there that would do it. I think Ole Miss would do it. Auburn would do it. Auburn hired Hugh Freeze. So I do think somebody would take a chance with the guy like now. Tennessee, probably not. They've had their problems with Bruce Pearl in the past. They've had their problems with Jeremy Pruitt in the past. I don't think that would happen. But my guest has just shown up here. Coach Kevin Carroll. I used to call him Pete Carroll for 20 years now. I want to check and see how you doing there, Kevin.
How's it going, guys? Can you hear me okay?
It's good, brother. It's good. You sound great, man.
Good deal.
Great. I guess you heard me backstage there. Do you think, and I sent you that screenshot, I thought that was a little harsh even for Jim Harbaugh. Don't you think it's academics really trying to stick it to him with the NCAA, man?
Yeah, it is. I agree with you as far as the COVID stuff. I thought that was ridiculous. All that recruiting stuff for COVID, it's just blown out of proportion. As far as it's a little harsh, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a moot point because I honestly don't think he's coming back. I think he's on the trajectory he wants to be on. Okay. He wants to win him a Super Bowl, I believe, and then after he does that, he might wrap it up and go into be an analyst or something like that if he wants to do that. He'll be a hot commodity in that regard as well. So I mean, he don't need to go back to college football unless he just absolutely wants to do it. And I personally don't think he's going to do that. But like I said, it's going to be a moot point at the end of the day. But it's all ridiculous. I mean, they're gonna. I mean, they just how the NCAA is. They want to throw stuff out there to say that they did something. So I mean, it's like I don't know, man. It's just ridiculous.
That's about what I thought. Now I do think if he has a fallout. Now, of course, if he stays here 5 or 6 years, he'll be pushing 70 then, or 70 whatever, like Nick Saban is. What if he wears his welcome bout with the Spanos family, who owns the Chargers? He wants to go to college. Do you think one of these desperate SEC teams would roll the dice with the Jim Harbaugh and let him sit for a year and work through a show calls like that?
Oh, absolutely. Somebody would give him a shot. He's a heck of a coach. I mean, he's a good coach. Yeah. He has been successful everywhere he has gone. So, I mean, especially maybe not the higher tier teams,
right?
But I will say this: we don't know how Bama's going to do yet without Saban.
Yes,
I don't think they're going to suck, but I don't think it's going to be the same either.
Yeah.
But if Bama does fall off, they would be ones that would do whatever it takes to get back. And if it meant giving Harbaugh a shot, they would definitely do it. But I don't think they're going to fall off that much. I do think they're going to fall off some here in the next few years.
Yeah.
But those middle tier teams, especially like
Ole Miss, Auburn, they'll do it.
Yeah, they'll do it. They'll do it. Yeah, they'll give him a shot. If they're not doing any good and then they need to win, they'll go that extra length to do it. Everybody but probably Vanderbilt, they're going to stick to their guns and continue to be no good for however long it is on the basis of morality. But I mean, if you want to win, you got to be willing to do what it takes to win. So
that's right, man. If you ain't got to push the envelope if you want to win these games. Okay, so been interesting. And what's your opinion on Tennessee this year? They supposedly got a bunch of transfers. One of their defensive players, is it James Pierce? He's one of the top.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be like a top 5 draft pick next year.
Yes, he is a good player too. He's going to be, injury pending. Hopefully they don't have a bunch of injuries.
Yeah.
Especially in key spots, because I mean, I think on the surface, like the starter 11 on each side, they're right there with anybody right now, talent wise. Okay. Where they come up short would probably be some of the depth, and that would be in the case where if they have too many injuries, it could really affect their season more than it would, say, Georgia or Texas even. But I mean, they are right there. They're ready to compete. I'm not one of those next year's our years type of guys. I try to keep it real when I'm talking about the Vols, because it hurts my feelings. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to get heartbroken. And the story I got with that is the Oklahoma game back when we had the 17-point lead and Baker Mayfield brought it back. And
I hated that.
Hey, my wife looked at me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was not okay." Okay. That point on, I told myself, I'm not getting excited until I have they give me a reason to get excited. And let me tell you, this year, from what I've seen, everything I know about football, I'll tell you right now, they have got me excited. I like where they're at. I believe, to me, they're a playoff team. I mean, it's playoffs or bust to me, especially with a 12-team playoff. I think, and this is what I'm going to stand on it.
Yeah.
I have said, unless they lose to somebody they're not supposed to lose to, or if they just get overrun by injuries and they're just not the team they're supposed to be, I can see them going 11-1. Absolutely going 11-1. With Georgia being that one, and I think it's a competitive
really
game.
Optimistic.
I believe it's. I don't even think it's that optimistic. I think based on what I see, health pending. Now they got to stay. They can't get a bunch of injuries in key spots, especially. But if they stay healthy, and because I believe their defense, I believe they fixed it, the defensive backfield with the transfers. I believe the transfers. I'm not saying they're going to be elite, but what I'm saying is they're going to be good enough because we're good enough on the defensive line. We have one of the best defensive lines in the country. The linebackers are really good this year with Peely coming back. He was injured all last year. I don't know if you saw him in that Virginia game, but he was going to be a big player.
They had
for that
one
defense.
of the better linebackers in the country?
Yes, he was hurt the whole season last year. Keenan Peely, he's back now, and he'll be in the middle, anchoring that run defense. And then they got the other young guys coming up, T-Lander and what's the other guy's name? Herring, I think.
Okay.
But, they got some really good young talent coming up, and with this veteran in the middle, they should be meant against the run. And then, of course, they got the pass rush with Pierce coming off the edge. They're going to play some good defense this year. And as you can see, under Tim Banks, every year they have been better and better. Like their defense has gone up in rank every season. And I believe it'll take another leap up this year. Yeah. And then we go to the offensive side. And by God, I am tripling down on Nico. I know we haven't really seen him like run a season yet, but this guy.
You don't think it's too much to ask that? Do you really think he's going to make that next step? He looked great in that Iowa game, but he didn't look too good in the spring game. What happened there, man?
It's a spring game. I honestly don't read too much into the spring stuff.
Okay.
And plus, they didn't even have all those receivers or anything like that, and half the line was out. So I mean, they were just putting on. That was basically for the fans, is all that was. With Nico, the thing that makes him special, it's not the 5 stars and the physical talent that we all see that he definitely has. Yeah. What makes him special is, and this is why Heupel brought him to Knoxville instead of, say, for example, going hard after Arch Manning. He is tailor-made to run Heupel's offense.
Okay.
He is perfect for this offense. He's a quick decision maker. The mental part is the part that I like about him over everything else, the physical skills, everything else. I believe I'm not worried about him handling the pressure. I'm not worried about any of that. I think that's the part that makes him special, the mental part of it. And that's where he will excel.
Who would you compare him to?
It's hard to compare him.
Successful college quarterbacks.
I would say he is a more talented Hendon Hooker, maybe. That's the closest. That's the closest I could probably think.
I was thinking Trevor Lawrence.
If we're going by size, like body type and everything, Trevor Lawrence body size and everything, and he does get that looping type of throw where he just whips it on out there. He's got a strong arm. Now I don't know if anybody has a strong arm as Milton, but don't make any mistake. He's got plenty arm strength. He can sling it down the field.
Well, Milton overthrew people, though. You know?
I don't know if you remember in that bowl game, he would have had over 200 yards and at least 2 passing touchdowns because on the deep pass he threw to Keaton, I mean, it was on the money. It was there. I guess Keaton lost it in the sun or whatever. It looked like he lost it in the sun, but
they dominated that game, almost 35-0.
Yeah, they did, and he didn't have a lot of passing yards because, quite frankly, the receivers just wasn't getting any separation in that game.
Yeah,
I don't know if you could tell that, but they just wasn't getting any separation. But he played it smart. He wasn't forcing it. He was taking what they were giving him, and you could tell just from the way he ran his decision making in the running game. It seemed a lot more seamless than when Milton ran. You know what I'm saying? It seemed kind of awkward.
Yeah,
and clunky.
I think he'll be better than Milton right off the bat.
Yeah,
even though Milton's talented, but Milton could never put it together, man.
Yeah, physically talented guy, but he could not operate the offense the way it was supposed to be operated. No. He couldn't keep the pace going the way the pace was supposed to go, and that's why you have receivers running wide open. Like when Hendon Hooker ran it. It wasn't just the fact that Hyatt was fast. It's the fact that the offense was running at such a fast pace. They were catching people out of position. They didn't have the right personnel on the field. Right. Different things like that is why this offense works the way it does. And if you can't run it at the pace it's intended to be run at, then those things aren't going to happen near as much. and throwing the ball slightly behind people, that slows this offense down a little bit.
Yes.
It breaks the rhythm up. So it looks good on the stat sheet, which is why he didn't have bad stats really.
No.
But in the grand scheme of it, it did slow that offense down, and it hurt the offense in the long run, especially against the better teams. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
As far as that goes. But yeah, I think this offense picks back up this year. I think it's going to be closer to the 2022 season with a better defense on top of it, which that stacks up really well for the Vols. I'm really excited.
Man,
for this
okay,
season.
now let's talk about the schedule. Now, October 12th, they got Florida in Knoxville, and they got the 19th, they got Alabama. You think they're going to win both of those home games back to back?
I do.
Like that?
I actually do. I do believe they're going to win those games. I don't think the Florida game is going to be close this time. I think the defense ain't going to choke up like it has in the past. And Nico is, like I said, the mental part. That's what I love about him.
Yeah.
He is not going to be taken over by the Florida curse. I think they're a better team. They're a better team than Florida.
Yes.
Right off the bat. And I believe the defense, they're going to pressure can't remember the guy's name, at the quarterback at Florida. He's not bad. He's actually a pretty decent player. But I believe at Knoxville, with the pressure Tennessee's going to get at him up the middle and off the edges, I think he's probably going to be in for a long day. I think they beat him pretty good. The Alabama game's a little more tricky because they are better. They got good personnel. Even without Saban, they still got good players. We all know that. They've recruited well over the years. But what I believe Tennessee's run defense is going to be so on point this year, especially at home with the crowd noise. They are going to take the run game away from them, which they kind of did. If you remember last year before Alabama come back, they were stuffing the run pretty good.
Yes.
So I believe they prolong that, and they shut the run down, put it all on Milroe's shoulders, and he's going to have that pressure on him, and it's all going to be on him. I believe Milroe's a good player. I don't think he's as good as he's being pumped up to be. I think it's a lot of the circumstance that's around him that makes him what he is. And if you take his best receiver, I believe, transferred to Texas. Okay. Now he's still got good guys, but I think they beat Alabama. I think they take them. If it was at Alabama, I wouldn't be so optimistic about it. Yeah. But at home with this everything, because I think they go into that game undefeated. So I think. Okay.
So you're saying at Oklahoma, September 20th. I'm not a big Brett Venables guy. I think they'll win that game too. Although they've had their problems on the road, though, Kevin.
Yeah. Nico's coming out game will be
September 20th, huh?
At Oklahoma. That will be when he shows the nation what he can do. I don't know if you saw the interview with Nico the other day. They asked him about road games. And he said, I love road games. He's like,
nice.
He goes, I'm not knocking playing at Neyland. He said, I love playing at Neyland. He said, but man, what really gets me going is going into a loud, hostile environment and quietening them down, doing things that makes it quieter. And he said that gets his blood going. That gets his blood going
because he's got those wheels. He can run,
and he's just so calm. He does not panic. I don't believe a hostile environment's gonna really knock him. And I don't know if they beat Oklahoma bad, but I do believe that I believe Nico has a big day. If the defense slips up a little bit, maybe they score more than, because I don't see this defense giving up a whole lot of points. I think it's going to be a really good defense. I think this year we're going to have a really good defense. Okay. We still have to see on the passing end, how they do if we're not getting the pass rush we need. But I'm confident that they address that. That's the great thing about the transfer portal now. You don't have to wait until you develop the young guys.
Right.
You can fill in the gaps with the transfer portal until those guys are ready to go. And I believe we're going to have a freshman starting at safety, or he'll be a nickel guy.
Well, that's not bad though.
Yeah. He's a very talented kid. Yeah. We just had an injury the other day. One of our veteran guys in the back, but Boo Carter, he was going to compete for the spot anyway. But I mean, it might be a good thing that he actually goes ahead and gets in there. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm beyond excited for this season. I'm so freaking pumped.
Well, you get me excited, man.
Yeah, hey,
yeah.
I've been following.
Well, we went to a great game back in 16. They came back and won. They were 21-3 down.
Yeah, I had to convince you to stay. Remember?
Yeah,
you
said
ready to go home.
The comeback.
Yeah, I said you'll miss the comeback. You and the Florida guy, you and the Florida fan you were talking to looked at me like I was crazy. I wasn't playing. I was like, we're ready. I mean, I was like, this was the year we were going to beat Florida. And I had it in my head that it was going to happen this year. And what
that's why
happened in the second half should have started in the first half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll never forget it. It was hot, but man.
93, but all those people left that after halftime, though, Kevin.
I remember people being carried out on stretchers and stuff because they were freaking hot.
Carlos, my Facebook's working. Cut through the excitement. Let's see some wins. I'm with you. I do think now they got to play at Arkansas October 5th, but that's off a bye week, though, Kevin. So I do think that they're going to play well there as well. Yeah. It's like I said, if they win the ones they're supposed to win, they're sitting pretty. And even if they do slip up one and they go in the season 10-2, they still got a very good shot at getting in the playoffs. Yes, so I believe they're going to go. I think they can do 11-1. I'm pretty confident in 11-1. I know a lot of people think I'm overshooting it, but hey, barring injury, I believe it's very, very doable. Looking at the schedule, Oklahoma would be the one I'd be worried about just because it's on the road. Yes, after hearing Nico say that about playing on the road, I'm like, nah, he's going to go out there and ball out in Norman, Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not. Do you think game day will be there at Norman for that game? If they're both undefeated, that would be a really good one to do. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because we know they're going to be in Athens if we're both undefeated. That's just we know they're going to be there. Yes. Now that's November 16th. Last time I went in there all hyped up, and of course, Georgia just feels like they're just a time and a half better than everybody. They haven't lost a regular season game in 4 years. They're good, man, and the talent is still there. I believe Tennessee is closer now, and I believe Tennessee is closing the gap between the powerhouses. Yes, and with the portal, and the 2025 class, they're in the top 5 now. After they get great quarterbacks every year. Yeah, they got the number 1 player, Brandon Faison or Faison, whatever his name is. Yes. He's the number 1 rated player in the whole class of 2026. Yes. And when you start he's the first one. When you start with that, receivers are going to want to play for this kid, play with this guy. Linemen are going to want to block for this guy. I mean, they're doing a wonderful job recruiting, and I don't even think they're done with 2025 yet. They're still building. They're not quite there with the depth yet with Georgia and Alabama, but they are working on it. They're getting there, and the program looks. I mean, think about it. Year 4 with the past 3 or 4 coaches we've had. Year 4, going into year 4. Okay. Were we this excited going into year 4? I mean, or had it already gone over the top and started going back down? I mean, seriously, think about that. That's a good question. Yeah. Year 4. Well, I was wanting to get rid of them in year 4. Yeah. Hey, and I don't. When we get them, I'm not one of these that he sucks. We should have never hired him, and yeah. That's usually what I'm saying, though. I'm like, let's see what he does. I'm willing to give him a shot and see what they do. Then I'll be like, okay, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. And just like Butch Jones, it looked like he had a good thing going. He recruited well. He did, and his recruiting looked better than what it really was because he hit the jackpot with Dobbs. He got so lucky with Dobbs because once Dobbs was gone, we saw his recruiting indeficiencies. You remember Dormady, right? Quentin Dormady? Yes. Okay. He was not a fit for what the Vols did at all. He recruited Jawan Jennings is playing well with the 49ers. Yeah, Jawan Jennings. He's a big play guy. He's doing really good. I mean, he's not leading the league in anything, but he's a key piece they got in their offense, and he's making plays. I'm really happy for him. Now he's got Dobbs there with him too. So Dobbs signed with the Niners. Is their backup now? How many of these teams? I'll tell you, here's my teams out of the SEC that I think can make the playoff. Listen to this: Georgia, the Texas, Ole Miss is number 6 team in the country, by the way.
Yep.
Alabama, Auburn, LSU. We just mentioned Tennessee, Missouri, Texas A&M. I think Florida's schedule's too hard. I don't believe in Brett Venables. Kentucky don't have the depth. Mississippi and Vanderbilt simply don't have enough talent. Am I missing anybody from those teams? That's a lot of teams that could make the playoffs. No?
Yeah, definitely. It's SEC's a super conference now.
Yeah.
And look, I've looked at the schedules from all these teams. Yeah. And I'm going to give you a crazy scenario that is very likely. Let's go ahead and assume Georgia runs the table, which is going to be tough because Georgia's got some tough road games. They got to play at Texas. They got to. I'm pretty sure they got to go to Ole Miss. Okay. They got to go to somebody else as well. There's like 3 of them that are really tough road games. Yeah. So it's not out of the question that they could trip up on one of those, and it wouldn't hurt them crazy bad, but it'd still be a loss. Yeah. But I've looked at Tennessee, I think Ole Miss and Texas, they could all go 11-1.
Woo!
They could literally all go 11-1 because I think Texas is going to beat Michigan at the beginning of the year.
Of course,
because Michigan, I do think Michigan's going to be good.
Really?
But it's one of those deals where they're replacing too many players.
Yes.
And the best time to beat them is early. So I think at the end of the year they'll be a decent team. I don't know if they'll be a playoff team or not, but they'll be a decent team by the end of the season. So I believe Texas wins that game. And then after that, they got to go. I believe Texas plays Georgia. They could lose that game. They could beat Georgia because they got them at home. And then
October 19th.
Yep.
The game day will be there.
Oh, yeah, they'll be there.
Yeah, I've got Georgia's schedule right here. They open up against Clemson. That's an early start time, and I don't think Clemson's nothing to sneeze at. They're not what they used to be, but they still got the defense.
They're expecting to win the ACC. They're expecting Clemson to win the ACC.
Okay.
So,
and you're right. It's at Texas. They got at Alabama, Florida, at Ole Miss November 9th. That could be a huge game for Georgia.
I think Ole Miss is set up in a pretty good spot. I actually think Ole Miss
20 starters back, including their quarterback.
And one team nobody's talking about, and they're good, but it's more so because of their schedule. If you pull their schedule up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Missouri.
Yes.
Missouri, they could go 11-1 or 10-2 as well.
Their coach is really good.
Yeah, if you look at their schedule, their schedule, it's not the toughest. Considering all the teams in the SEC and who they're playing, they don't have a hard road. I think
at A&M is not going to be a walk, and at Alabama is pretty tough.
Yeah, 10-2 for Missouri is very feasible, I believe.
Yes,
and if they can beat Alabama and A&M or one out of the two, I mean, they could be maybe possibly 11-1. So I mean. Yeah. You see what I'm saying by their schedule?
Nine starters on offense, including their quarterback. This guy's a well of a coach at Missouri. They beat up on Tennessee last year. They went 11-2 last year.
Cook is a good player.
Yes.
He's a good quarterback.
Yes.
They lost that running back. Now,
I think Schrader went to the 49ers.
Yeah, I did want Tennessee to play Missouri again because I believe Tennessee can beat them. And that game just didn't set right with me. I wanted Tennessee to play them again. But, I mean, hey, we might get them in the playoffs. You never know. Just think if Tennessee can land at that number 6 spot, or is it number 5? Number 5 or 6, they'll get a home playoff game in Knoxville. Can you imagine?
Yeah, those first 4 teams will have bye weeks. So yes,
a home playoff game in Knoxville
in December.
Dude, does it get any better than that? I mean, come on, man.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Oh,
I really hope that I think that they're 15th now. And you're probably right. I mean, this Heupel swears this is the best defense since he's been there.
Yeah, I love the playoffs, man. I love I'm so happy they expanded it. And the main reason is because bowl games mean nothing anymore. Absolutely nothing. Nobody plays in the bowl games. People will play in the playoffs.
So you're saying probably 4 teams, perhaps, from the SEC get in, minimum?
Yeah, Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, and
maybe A&M.
to toss up, but I'm not big on A&M, honestly.
But they got a new coach, man.
Yeah, I know.
And they had all those 5-star players left over.
Yeah, but I haven't seen anything from them yet. I've got to see them do something first.
Yeah.
To pick up before the season. I can't.
Well, you said Ole Miss is the other one I meant. I'm sorry.
Either Ole Miss or Missouri.
Or both.
Or both. Both could make it as well. Don't they got a rule? Don't they got it set up to where a group of 5 can make it in under a certain criteria?
From what I've read a bunch of on this today. I don't see why. They just said the highest ranking team, so they didn't give any rule on like one conference can be limited because we know that SEC is loaded with talent.
I think they said the highest ranked group of 5 team that wins its conference. I think is the mid major that can get in. So they left it open for one mid major to get in. If the highest ranked one, as long as they win their conference, or it's something along those lines. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I don't
think nobody's going to get robbed. I'd
rather be arguing about 12 or 13 than I would 3 and 4. I'm okay with it. If you're down that far, you should have done better anyway. If you get beat out from a mid major, oh well, But now,
I hope they don't.
Come December, if it's the Vols, I'm gonna be singing a different song. But you know how it is.
You're right. With the quarterback play at Tennessee, his guy could win the Heisman. Do you think he'll win the Heisman?
I don't know if he'll win it.
You think he'll get called up to New York?
He'll be in the mix for sure.
Okay.
If he doesn't get called up, he'll be close to being called up. But the way this offense runs, if it's running the way it's supposed to, and he doesn't get injured, he could be in the conversation. He'll probably be there. He'll probably be in New York. Because I don't believe he's going to make a lot of bad choices. He's a smart quarterback. And he's young. You can tell by listening to it, he is ready to roll. If you watch the practices when the other quarterbacks are running their reps, he is in the background doing shadow reps. Basically, he's back there looking at the receivers that are actually running out, and he's pretending like he's throwing the ball. He's doing all this mental stuff in his head. He is geared, ready to go. I like I said, mentally, I believe that is going to be his strong suit. We're going to have a treat at least the next 2 years, I believe, and he'll probably be a high draft pick. After his second year
I think so too.
Yeah, I do believe we actually hit the jackpot on a quarterback. And,
and I've been reading his hype is like Peyton. I don't think that's saying too much. His hype is Peyton Manning like.
Yeah, it is.
He's a better athlete than Peyton Manning.
He is a better athlete, and the kid's talented. I don't know. People put a lot of stock into the 7 versus 7s.
Yeah,
he threw 36 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the 7 versus 7 tournament. Like, and what's significant about that is the fact that you get I think somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you get 3 seconds. Once you get back there, you gotta process the information and get rid of the ball in 3 seconds. That kind of simulates a pass rush, whatever. So that that's telling you how well he'll do in Heupel's offense, because it's about making quick decisions. So he can do that, and the guys he's playing against in the 7 versus 7 are talented linebackers and DBs, what's the most talented around the nation, who are fast because there ain't no running the ball. They're there to guard to defend pass. So, come on now.
I can't wait, man. You got me amped up.
Yeah, I haven't been this excited about Vols football in a long time, and I'm gonna be highly disappointed if it doesn't play out.
Well, that wouldn't be nothing new.
No, it wouldn't.
They've been letting us down for 30 years.
Yeah, I feel good about it.
Other than 98, 2001. Well, 2001 they did let me down the SEC championship game. Yeah. 98 was not a letdown.
No. We finally beat Florida. That was so. I was so happy last year or a couple years when we beat Alabama. God,
my neighbors heard me, man.
I was shaking, dude. When they were on that last, I was physically shaking. I was so freaking. That's the most I'd got wound up since the Oklahoma game. I was like,
I was working. God, I was so disappointed. that
Please
they lost.
God, don't take
Oklahoma
this away from me.
Like, yeah.
Oh, man.
Maybe that happens this way, where Tennessee gets down early and Nico rallies them back against Oklahoma on September 21st.
Hey, as long as they win, I don't care how they do it. Beat the crap out of them, do it by one, come back and beat them, break their hearts.
That's what I like about college.
I don't know if my heart can take a game going down a last drive. But no, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. As long as we win, I'm good to go. But I think we're in for a good season, and I can't wait to get it started.
Yeah. Well, we only got a few more weeks. Kevin Carroll, guest in tonight. Hopefully, I can bring you back maybe before one of these big games, or maybe after one of these big games, so we won't feel like we're being let down.
Oh, absolutely.
You all second shift now?
I'm on days now, so I'm like,
that's awesome, man.
I'm open in the night, in the evenings, every evening. So I don't know if you know Talking Balls on YouTube. I go on their show sometime and discuss with them. I'm always down to talk, man. Anytime, just send me a message, and as long as I don't have anything going on, which 99% of the time I don't. hey, I'm game, man. I love to come on and talk ball. You know how it is.
All right, there, Coach Kevin Carroll. I appreciate you, brother. You have a good night, and I will be talking to you after one of these big games here, and especially if it's a loss, man. We'll just have to bring it like it is.
Yeah. We'll just say just analyze it, say what happened, what went wrong.
Yeah.
No excuses. No excuses. We're just going to be honest about it. Like if they lose, they just lose. Yep. Exactly.
Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, no problem. Take it easy.
All right, man. I'll tag you with this. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, hopefully, the Mad New Yorker, if you hear me, hopefully you can come on tomorrow. I'll get your thoughts on the SEC, how many teams you think it can make it. And we'll talk about that. And maybe if you've watched it, Carlos, get your thoughts on that pretty good opening Hard Knocks. And, folks, I'm still watching and monitoring the story with Brandon Ayuk is still in 49er, by the way. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that story. They can't quite get the numbers right. But either way, I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, here on the Real Sports Scope. Good night, everybody.